Breaking Down the Borders. I'm Linda Furiotti. Online with me today is Lynn Koiner. Lynn is a world-leading expert on medical astrology. Hey, Lynn, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello, Linda.
You truly are a leading expert within the astrology community. What first attracted you to medical astrology?
Well, I've been studying astrology since I was in high school, and I had a reading with Catherine Grant at the American Federation of Astrologers in the summer of 1966. And she would talk about health issues that you might have, but also what to do in order to prevent those health issues from manifesting. One of the big ones was a liver dysfunction. And she would always tell people, if you have problems with the liver, you need to take the homeopathic supplement, Chionanthus. And I thought, what a wonderful thing to be able to tell someone, you have this health vulnerability. This is what you do to make sure it never becomes a health issue. Also, I'm a Virgo. Virgos are always interested in health issues. But in this case, it gave me the clue that one could come up with solutions or remedies rather than telling someone so fatalistically that they may have some type of health issue.
Now, your talk for the Breaking Down the Borders conference is called Depression, the Acute Mars Dysfunction. Explain what this means and how can depression be found in the chart?
I cannot always find depression in the horoscope, but everyone gets depressed. And this is shown by Mars, its sign, house, and aspects. So this is what I'm going to be discussing in my talk in November. I noticed that with certain signs, there's a certain type of depression that manifests. For example, Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo, they start to analyze themselves into a depression, feeling bad about themselves. But what helps them is if they know, well, the reason you're depressed is because there's been a coronal mass ejection, Saturn is sitting on some of your planets, then they start to analyze their way out. Everyone has depressed moods, and that is what I will initially discuss. I first stumbled on this idea. There's a well-known psychotherapist in the Washington area, and she always said that when you do not give yourself permission to be angry, then the feeling substitution is depression. So often if you can activate your Mars, get angry about something, do something about your situation, you can pull yourself out of a depressed condition. There are also other types of depression, and there's a lot of work being done using a type of testing, neurotransmitter testing, which tests the 4 lobes of the brain, or the hormones from those 4 lobes of the brain. I know that I teach in Course 3 the 4 elements and the 4 lobes of the brain, and dysfunctions that occur when those hormones of those lobes are not functioning properly. For example, people who tend to be the drama queen often have a GABA deficiency. If they take this as a supplement, it tends to calm them down. So I will be discussing other reasons for depression that may not always be identified in the chart, and what can be done to remedy the depression. There are some things. When I first started to study astrology, I was also very active in the Edgar Cayce medical files. And so I found a lot of solutions, especially for depression, that came from some of the Edgar Cayce files. And this is what I'm going to be discussing with my talk in November.
Can you give us a real brief example of one of your findings with the Edward Cayce?
Yes. One of them, very unusual. This happened many times, and there was one man who was one of the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer founders who had a problem with chronic depression. And Edgar Cayce had told him that he had had a fall years earlier that caused the spine to put pressure on one of the nerves. This would build up over time and lead to severe depression. And in this case, if there was an adjustment to the spine, his depression would go away. And there's another example, very famous example, of a man who developed a psychosis, and he was put into a mental institution. His family consulted Edgar Casey, and he was also told that some years earlier he had had a fall. There was a misalignment of the spine that was causing pressure on, I believe it's a nerve in the lower spine. And if this was corrected, he would have an immediate improvement. And at that time he was lecturing in New York. A man stood up in the audience and said, "What Mr. Casey says is absolutely true, because I was that man." And he had an immediate cure applying the Casey remedies and having an adjustment to the spine. So that's one that isn't often observed, a misalignment of the spine causing depression, even psychosis.
Excuse me. Now, your talk for the Breaking Down the Borders conference is November 21st. I believe that is the Sunday. It's at 12 noon.
Yes.
And to learn more about the conference, we can go to astrologyconference.org. But what are you looking forward to most about speaking at an online conference?
Well, I will be teaching this class in Kamnik, Slovenia. So I will be staying at the hotel in Kamnik and broadcasting live from Slovenia. I will not be here in the United States. I live just outside of Washington, D.C. So I'm really looking forward to this. And because it's international, I can be anywhere in the world, and I can have students anywhere in the world. So this type of online teaching, I just love.
Lynn, we just have a couple of seconds left. If someone wants to find out more about Lynn Koiner and her work, how can they get in touch with you?
I have many articles that are free to download on my website, lynnkoiner.com. There are many articles on transits, psychological issues in the chart. Everything can be downloaded for free.
Lynn, I appreciate your time with me this afternoon. I'm Linda Furiotti for Breaking Down the Borders. See you around the globe.